Report. Florida administrators trying to figure out if they can fire Jim McElwain with cause. Report. Florida administrators trying to figure out if they can fire Jim McElwain with cause by Jack Jorgensen. Georgia Bulldogs 42, Florida Gators 7. The Florida Gators were literally run over by the Georgia Bulldogs in the annual grudge match. And now the questions for Jim McElwain and his 3-4 team will really begin to mount. When you enter into a big grudge match like the annual, don't call it the cocktail party game between the Georgia Bulldogs and Florida Gators. You expect even team who has struggled to make a showing. That wasn't the case in Jacksonville this year, as the Gators were absolutely disassembled by the Dogs from the opening kickoff in every facet of the game, in a 42-7 win for the kids in red and black. To be fair, Georgia is really good this year, but we've seen really good Georgia teams march into Everbank Field, or for us old-timers, the Gator Bowl, and lay giant eggs. This year Georgia played up to their capabilities, while Florida went into surrender cobra mode quite quickly. Everything which had gone wrong for the Bulldogs during the last 3 years went right today, and Florida spent most of the game tripping over their own feet. When they weren't committing false start penalties, it was the Sony Michel, Nick Chubb and D'Andre Swift show forcing an early cancellation of Jim McElwain's House of Horrors. More than just the score, and Georgia breaking a 3-year streak of Gator victories. This game raises some big questions for Florida and Jim McElwain, starting with the pregame distraction of death threats which McElwain refused to elaborate upon. Prior to the game, reports surfaced that there was a possible buyout of McElwain's contract in the works. However, Florida Athletic Director Scott Strickland denied any such negotiations were going on. The key here is Strickland's wording that no one had any conversations regarding a buyout. A firing, that's a different story. The suspension of 10 players for possible felony fraud charges, the subpar performances on the field, and the controversy around the death threats comment all added up to trouble for Jim McElwain. The evisceration by Georgia may be the proverbial back-breaking straw. According to ESPN, Florida administrators are now convening to see if they have a case for the outright firing of McElwain without having to pay the $12.9 million buyout. Sources told ESPN that they believe the university has enough cause to fire McElwain without having to pay his buyout. Sources also said that if McElwain were to be relieved of his duties, defensive coordinator Randy Shannon would be asked to be the team's interim coach. Many would ask why the Florida Athletic trustees would even consider firing a coach who walked in and won 2 SEC East titles in his first 2 seasons. While that might look good on a resume, the fact is the Gators won what was universally considered a tepidly weak division, and were summarily beaten handily by Alabama in both SEC championship games. For his performance as a coach, McElwain should be given more time to turn the Gators' pathetic offense around. However, if McElwain did indeed insert the death threats comment simply for shock effect, he probably does deserve to be fired. Either way, this will be an interesting situation to monitor as the weekend continues into what could be a Black Monday for more than one college football coach.